What's up, everybody? Welcome to DFS by the Numbers. These are my NFL DFS showdown picks for Thursday. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going against the Dallas Cowboys. Really looking forward to start off the NFL season with a very good game, a 51-point game total here. The Buccaneers are going to be 8.5-point favorites. And looking forward to it. Before we get into the plays and all that, if you guys can leave a like on the video, one small like does go a long way. Subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. It is much appreciated, and you will not miss out on all the content throughout the week. I did post my core plays video on Wednesday, and I'm going to be posting my full player pool on Saturday, potentially Sunday morning as well. So make sure you are subbed so you do not miss out on all that good stuff there. So we'll kind of quickly go through the plays that are sticking out, some plays that I do want to avoid. We'll talk some game theory as well, and I say we just get right into it. So we take a look at the slate here. So up top, we have the quarterbacks. Tom Brady with Dak Prescott are going to be the two most expensive there. Tom Brady, $11,200, and Dak Prescott is $10,400. So we'll kind of start with Tom Brady here, and I think Tom Brady is absolutely in play. I think he has a ton of great options to throw to. You have the Howard tight end, Gronk tight end, Godwin, Brown, and Mike Evans. So a lot of options there to pass for Tom Brady going against the Dallas Cowboys defense, who is not great. Did absolutely horrible last year. Might be a little bit better last year or this year, but I still don't think they're that great. And I think Tom Brady's going to have a lot of success, at least early. The only concern I have, and it's more of a game theory thing, is they are 8.5-point favorites. So you got to imagine that they're going to be out ahead early and often. So my concern is if they do get out ahead by a lot, I mean, what happens? Are they going to start running the ball? Are they going to get into a run-heavy game plan in the second half? That is my only concern there. But then again, they are going to have to score a lot of points, the Buccaneers and Tom Brady in general, to get there in the first place. So yeah, I think Tom Brady's in play. I think he's fine. Going back to it here, the thing is, if I had to pick between Tom Brady and Dak Prescott, for me, it's a pretty clear Dak Prescott. You're getting an $800 savings here. So we kind of take a look at what Dak Prescott did, and the numbers were fantastic. 42 DraftKings points, 33, 43, 17. But I want to focus more on the passing attempts, and I think he has upside of 50, and I'm being honest, 50-plus passing attempt upside in this game. You take a look at it, 57 passing attempts against Seattle, 58 passing attempts against Cleveland, and the reason I think that for is because of they are 8.5-point underdogs. I do think they're going to be trailing early and often. I do think they're going to have to pass the ball not only because they're behind, but because, man, Tampa Bay Buccaneers have one of the best, if not the best, run defense in the NFL. So I would be shocked if they came out here and said, hey, we're going to run the ball 20-plus times with Zeke Elliott. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to be forced to pass the ball a ton because of the matchup, and on top of that, because I do think they're going to be trailing for most of the game. So, yeah, for me, it's Dak Prescott. I think he has more pass attempt upside, more volume upside, but I think they're both in play. If you can fit both Dak Prescott and Tom Brady in your lineup, I think that's absolutely fine. Moving along, Zeke Elliott, yeah, I'm kind of iffy about this one because a couple reasons. One, the matchup. Tampa Bay, one of the best, if not the best, run defense in the NFL. I don't see him having much success on the ground, but that does not mean he's completely out of play because he does have some reception upside. I went back and looked at Zeke and Dak and what they did last year, and he was getting some receptions. Dak definitely was getting Zeke the ball. I think he had 11 targets one week in Zeke. He had 7 targets from Dak as well, and I do think Dak's going to get Zeke the ball in the passing game, and that's where I think Zeke is going to have a success. It's just, again, the matchup concerns me. The game script concerns me in a game where they're projected to be trailing by a ton. Biggest dogs in the entire week. I find it very hard to believe that Zeke's going to get a ton of rushing attempts, and when he does run the ball, I find it hard to see Zeke having a lot of success. So the reason I'm not completely ruling him out is because I can see him, catching the ball, maybe getting 5, 6, 7 receptions, doing well in the passing game, maybe scoring a touchdown. I'm not completely ruling him out, but there are some players that I do like a little bit better. So moving down the list here, so Mike Evans, 9,200, and Chris Godwin, 8,600. I think they're both in play. You see it right there. The Dallas Cowboys ranked 30th last year against the wide receivers. The problem is, and this is kind of how it is for most of the slate, the problem is picking between the two, right? Like, do you go with Mike Evans or do you go with Chris Godwin? For me personally, it's going to be that $600 savings on Chris Godwin. But yeah, Mike Evans is definitely in play as well. Both are going to be extremely high owned, as for a very good reason. I both think they're going to have a lot of success. All three of the Buccaneers receivers I'm very interested in. We'll talk about the other one in a little bit, who is just way underpriced. But yeah, Mike Evans, he's in play. Chris Godwin's definitely in play. Moving along a little bit, Amari Cooper and CeeDee Lamb, pretty much the same for me. I mean, it's one of those weeks where it's hard to just make one lineup and go with it. There's a lot of plays where you're going to have to decide between a Godwin or Evans. You're going to have to decide between an Evans or a Cooper, a Lamb or a Cooper. A lot of these plays are very, very similar. And kind of the same thing here with Cooper and Lamb. I mean, which guy is going to have the most success? For me personally, I slightly lean to the Lamb side. He's going to be out of the slot, and the Buccaneers have struggled in the slot in the past, and he is $200 cheaper, but I really like Amari Cooper as well. So it's one of those slates where I'm definitely going to play Lamb. I'm going to play Cooper. I'm going to play Godwin. It's one of those slates where I wish there was like 8 roster spots, because I like all these guys. I like Evans. I like Godwin. I like Cooper. I like Lamb. But it's also one of those slates where it's very clear to see which guys you want to play and which guys you really don't want to play. But yeah, Cooper's great. CeeDee Lamb's great. Obviously, the Dallas wide receivers here, Cooper and Lamb, are going to be cheaper than Godwin and Evans. And I do like the upside of all 4 of them, to be honest. So yeah, Mike Evans is great. Godwin's fine for sure, cheaper than Evans there, and then Cooper and Lamb are definitely in play. Cheaper of the two teams in terms of wide receivers there, probably the same upside, if not more upside. Talking back to that game script, 8.5-point underdogs, I do think they're going to have to throw the ball a ton, and I do think Lamb and Cooper are going to get a ton of action in the passing game. So moving down a little bit, we'll touch on some of these plays like Leonard Fournette. I'm going to stay away from the Tampa Bay running game for the most part. There is one guy we'll talk about down below that I do have some interest in just based off the price, but Fournette, way too expensive for me, $7K. Going to be splitting carries with Ronald Jones, who $5K, probably too expensive. Maybe he can find the end zone once or twice. If he does that, sure, it'll be a good play, but he's not going to have that pass-catching upside. He's going to be splitting carries with Fournette. So for the most part, I'm staying away from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers passing game or running game in Fournette Jones, but there is a guy I do like down below. So we'll talk about, Michael Gallup here. He is somebody that I do have some interest in. He's very cheap, $6,200, going to be the third passing option on the Dallas Cowboys. Did fairly well last year, 11.2 DraftKings points. We'll take a look at what Michael Gallup did with Zeke. Week 1, 8 points. Week 2, 7.8. Week 3, did have a big game, 28.8 DraftKings points, and then week 4, 4.9. Yeah, I think Gallup's solid. Obviously, I'd rather go up and get Amari Cooper. I'd go up and get CeeDee Lamb. But if you do need some salary savings, I do think Gallup is 100% in play. We talked about them being underdogs, how they're going to have to pass a lot. I think Gallup is definitely somebody to look at for sure. 843 reception yards last year, 5 touchdowns. Fairly good year last year. I think Michael Gallup is definitely somebody I'm looking at, and is definitely somebody that's going to be in my player pool. Going down more, this is probably the easiest play on the entire card. Antonio Brown, $5,600. This price just does not make sense whatsoever. Of course, you got Godwin up there, great play. Mike Evans up there, great play. But Antonio Brown, $5,600. It just makes absolutely zero sense to me. You take a look at it, averaged 13.7 DraftKings points last year, 564 yards, 6 touchdowns. A ton of upside. Like, this price makes no sense. He really should be one of the highest owned players on the slate because you're just saving so much. You are saving so much. Instead of going up and getting Mike Evans or Godwin, go down and save thousands and get Antonio Brown, who doesn't have the same upside, but it's not like too far off. At least it's not $3,000 off. So makes no sense. I think Antonio Brown, I'd be shocked if he was not one of the most highest owned players on the entire slate. Again, Dallas ranked 30th against wide receivers last year. I think Brown, Godwin, Evans, all phenomenal plays. But yeah, that price point of Brown just does not make sense. Gronk, he's fine, 5,400. I'm not overly excited about it. We'll talk about the Dallas tight ends a little bit, Jarwin and Schultz. Both are okay. I mean, it's hard to decide which one's going to do the best. Schultz, I probably have a little bit more interest in just based off he is $600 cheaper. Did have a lot of success last year, but I think Jarwin's definitely going to be in the mix for this game. Not much interest in the Dallas tight ends here. Talked about Ronald Jones, not much interest in him. It's one of those slates where it's pretty much stars and scrubs. Like, there's a lot of great plays up top. Tom Brady, Prescott, Elliott's okay. Mike Evans, Godwin, Cooper, Lamb, Gallup, and then Antonio Brown. But just going down, there's just not much down here. You have to really, really dig for some value. Kickers and defenses, I'm actually not looking at too much for this week. I just think there's so many plays up top and in that kind of mid-range of a Brown or a Gallup where even like down below, there's some guys down below that I can definitely see outscoring some of these kickers and some of these defenses, and especially in a high-scoring game, I'm not interested, especially in the Dallas Cowboys defense at 3,000. If anything, I guess the Buccaneers defense, if anything, but yeah, 4,800, just not much interest there. I think there's going to be a lot of touchdowns scored from each side, so defenses I'm kind of ruling out this week. Even like kickers, not too excited about. Pollard, 4,200 back, a running back for Dallas, not too excited about as well. See if we can go down here and find something. So O.J. Howard is somebody that I'm really looking at. There's two guys down here, three guys down here that I'm looking at, but mostly two. So the first one is going to be O.J. Howard. He is 2,200. We take a look at what he did last year in the 4 games that he did play. 6 targets, 3 targets, 4 targets, 6 targets, averaged 9.4 DraftKings points, 2 touchdowns, so he is the backup tight end for Gronk, but I do think he has some solid upside in this game. I think O.J. Howard's definitely somebody to look at. Just based off the price point, I think he's solid. Would love for him to find the end zone. Maybe he does, but yeah, 2,200, you really don't need much from Howard. We talked about Bernard a little bit, how I'm not in love with the Tampa Bay running backs. The top 2 are going to be splitting carries, but Bernard is going to be the third down back. I can see him getting a reception here or there, and really at 2,000, all you need is a couple receptions to really potentially find the optimal lineup. So yeah, Bernard is definitely somebody I'm looking at if I'm in terms of value. O.J. Howard, somebody I'm definitely looking at in terms of value. Those 2 that stick out. Other than that, it just gets really tough. I mean, Scotty Miller, I guess, is somebody you could look at, 1,600, going to be the 4th receiver on the team behind Godwin, Evans, Brown. Scotty Miller, somebody to look at. Ty Johnson, the 5th receiver. Now you're just really digging at this point. Yeah. So for me, it's O.J. Howard and Bernard down low. Staying away from Brate. Staying away from the defenses and the kickers for the most part, but yeah, it's a pretty interesting slate this week for sure. I think it's one of those weeks where, again, there's a lot of great plays up top. It's hard to get away from a lot of these. Tom Brady, Dak Prescott, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. I think a lot of these pass catchers are definitely in play in a game where I think pass catching is going to be very important. So that's kind of how I'm thinking. In terms of my favorite plays, Dak Prescott really sticks out. Antonio Brown, that price point is crazy. I think CeeDee Lamb, Amari Cooper are phenomenal plays at that price point. Of course, Mike Evans, Godwin are fine as well. And then in terms of value, again, AJ Brown or Antonio Brown, you can classify him as value there. But in terms of like dumpster diving, I think O.J. Howard and Bernard are going to be the 2 I'm looking at. I think Bernard will be a little bit higher owned than O.J. Howard, but both will definitely have some ownership. So, yeah, a fun slate. Looking forward to it. That's about all I have. So, kind of went through some plays there. Kind of talked about some guys that I want to stay away from in terms of the running backs for the Buccaneers, in terms of pretty much the tight ends for the Cowboys. Pretty much staying away from the kickers and the defenses this week as well. But yeah, I think it's going to be a very fun and exciting slate. Looking forward to it. Hopefully we can make some money. Hopefully we can put together some good lineups. And yeah, so that's about it, guys. So if you guys enjoyed the video, if it helped out in any type of way, please leave a like. Also subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. If I missed something, let me know. If you think there's a play that is going to break the slate, if you think there's going to play that could potentially win one of us $1 million, comment it down below. I remember last year somebody commented down like a $200 tight end and said, this guy's going to score. And it was like his only touchdown of the year, and he scored that night. So I love seeing stuff like that. So yeah, if you guys think there's a play that sticks out to you, let me know. Let me know, and then we'll see what happens there. So yeah, that's about it, guys. Good luck, and let's start off the season right with a very good Thursday slate. See you guys.